Hey guys, welcome back to class. I hope you had a good weekend. I hope you're staying safe. I hope that the corona thing goes away soon so that I can see you guys face to face and talk to you like a human being. Okay, so anyway, I wanted to start off today by talking about your homework. And I asked you guys, what is the strangest thing in English culture or American culture to you? The answers you guys gave me were mostly these. So the most common question by far was about the shoes inside. And honestly, I don't know why Americans and English people wear shoes in the house. I do have some theories though. So my first theory is ondol. So in Korea, for a very long time, if you go to Bulguksa or you go to, Gyeongju, and you see the buildings, even the really, really old buildings have ondol. And in an ondol house, the warmest part of the house is the floor. So if you're not wearing shoes, ondol is really, really comfortable. In England and the United States, ondol is very, very rare. Almost nobody has it. In America, the heat is usually either a fan system or it's a fireplace, which means that in an American house or in an English house, the floor is the coldest part of the house. So if you're wearing shoes, or if you're wearing no shoes in an English or American house, it can be uncomfortable. The second reason is in Korea, you take off your shoes to keep the house clean. In England and the United States, very often they clean the shoes before they come into the house. So let me show you what this looks like. So you can see here, this is called a foot scraper or a boot brush shoe scraper. And what you do is like this. You put your shoe over it and you clean off the bottom. Then you go this way and you clean it again. And then you clean the sides on this part. So, and these are very common in the US and in England. The other thing I wanted to say about shoe scrapers and wearing your shoes inside is not everyone wears shoes inside. Out of the American and English people I know, about half of them wear shoes inside, about half of them don't. So it's about 50-50. I don't wear shoes inside. Even before I came to Korea, I didn't wear shoes inside. I also, one of you guys mentioned Americans wearing their shoes in bed. I have never seen that. I don't know of any American people who sleep with their shoes on. That's like crazy stuff. Okay. So, next one. Guns. Some of you guys wanted to know why American people have guns. That's a good question. There are many reasons American people have guns. English people too. Not as often, but English people too. Canadian people have a ton of guns, actually. Canadian people have... the average Canadian person has more guns than the average American, actually. And the reason for that, there are many reasons. Number one, the United States and Canada, and to a lesser extent England, has a lot of countryside. And in the countryside, there are wild animals. There's also pests. I have had, in my life, I have owned 2 guns. I had a rifle, which is a sochong, and I also built a gun. I built a gun as an engineering project. I used my sochong mostly on rabbits and mice. So my mother had a garden, and we lived in the countryside. So my mom had a garden with vegetables in it, and rabbits, mice, etc. would come into the garden and eat my mom's vegetables. So one of the ways that you can fix this is you keep a small gun, and usually a rifle, and when you see a rabbit or you see a mouse in the garden, you shoot it. So that's one reason. Another reason is self-defense. Okay, this is complicated. In reality, having a gun in your house because you're worried about criminals is a bad idea. It doesn't work. You are much more likely to hurt yourself than you are to hurt the criminal. However, there is another kind of protection that is much more logical in my mind. America, especially, Canada too, has a very long tradition of not trusting the government. So American people, Canadians too, the English people a little bit, but not as much, they are always worried that the president or the governor, Jujisa, will become a dictator, or will become a tyrant, Pokun. So one of the reasons that Americans and Canadians and English people have guns is if the president becomes a tyrant or a dictator, everybody can fight him. All of the citizens can protect themselves against the tyrant. And actually, that's something I want to ask you guys about. Fight the dictator. Okay, this idea. Imagine that in 1981, in Gwangju, the 민주주의 운동. Imagine that the people in Gwangju had guns, like people in Canada or the United States or England do. Do you think that the Gwangju massacre, Haksa, do you think it happens? Do you think it's worse? Do you think it's better? I don't know. I want your opinion. But anyway, that kind of thing is probably the biggest reason Americans have guns. Okay. Food. Okay. Man, this is a hard question for me to answer. The reason this question is hard for me to answer is I don't know what American food is. Hamburgers are German. Pizza is Italian. Burritos are Mexican. Sandwiches are English. Hot dogs are German. Sauerkraut and pickles are Russian or German. Chinese food is very popular in America. Thai food is very popular in America. A lot of the breakfast cereals are English. I don't know what American food is. And that is also that's also kind of a historical thing. The United States is made up of immigrants. My family is Spanish, German, French, and English. Some of my friends, one of my best friends is Irish. Another one of my best friends is Mexican. Another one of my friends is French. There are Native American, Indian, probably half the people in America are part Native American. My great-grandmother was part Native American. It's really common. So immigrants, because of all the immigrants, because of all the different cultures coming together, I don't know what American food is. It's such a mix of other countries' food, I couldn't tell you. So anyway, these are good questions, and I wanted to point something out about these questions. So guys, you'll notice that when I answered this question, I had to talk about ondol and Shilla, Korea, Joseon. Okay? Because the Korean culture of taking off your shoes comes from Shilla, Korea, Joseon. The American and English culture of keeping your shoes on is also very old. So this question is a history question. Right? Guns. So when I'm trying to explain guns, we have to talk about the Gwangju Massacre. In America, we have to talk about the American Revolution. Okay? History. Okay? Food. Right? History of immigration. And guys, we can't avoid this. So I know that many of you don't like history, and I think I know why. Okay, let me show you something real quick. I think many of you have learned history like this. Okay? The teacher comes and says, "Students, the third king of England was Ethelstan. He became king in 924 and died in 939. The fourth king was Edmund I. He became king in 939 and died in 946. He was followed by Edred, who became king in 946 and died in 955. Okay, I don't care. This is boring. This is useless. Okay? This is bad history. Okay? And I know that many of you guys in high school, you had to learn history like this. Okay? In my opinion, this is a waste of time. I'm not going to do this. I will never ever make you memorize kings. I will not make you memorize dates. I don't care. Okay? When we talk about history in this class, we're not talking about this. Okay? This is not, I'm not interested. Okay, instead of that, when we talk about history in this class, it's always going to be part of a story. Okay? Every chapter we read is going to be like this. Part 1, cultural thing. Okay? So, it's going to be something that you and I experience right now. Okay? We're not going to talk about King Ethelstan in 924 just to memorize his name and just to memorize his date of birth. I don't care. Okay? And I think that you don't care either. Okay? If we talk about King Ethelstan, we're going to talk about him in connection to the thing that we're experiencing right now. Okay? So, we start with a cultural thing we start here that we experience now. After that, we're going to learn okay? We're going to learn the origins of that thing. We're going to learn the people who made the choices that made our culture. Okay? So, for example, if we want to learn the history of pizza, okay? Pizza is a cultural thing we experience. Pizza has a history. If we want to understand how Italian food, pizza, got to America, we're going to talk about the people who brought it to America. We're going to talk about the people who changed it. We're going to learn why they changed it. Okay? What we're going to be looking at, we're going to stop doing history in memorizing names and dates, and we're going to start looking at it like a historical drama, like Sakuk. Okay? We are interested in the people. We are interested in the stories. We are interested in the problems that people faced and how they solved them. Okay? Then, after we learn the origins of the cultural thing, we're going to decide do we like it? If yes, why? If not, how can we change it? Okay? So, in this class, we're going to have to talk about history, guys. But I don't want you to worry because we're not going to memorize names. We're not going to memorize dates. When we talk about history, we're doing this. Okay? All right, guys. That'll be it for part 1. Hang on one second. I'll get you part 2.